Fired.
It looks like we are live on the air, are we not? Testing sound. 1, 2, and 3.
1, 2, and 3.
Sound is being tested. 1, 2, and 3.
Are you on?
Test one. There we
There
go.
it is. Hello, Cliff.
Hello there, Mr.
Hi.
Mr. Justin.
It's
Mr. Man, Mr.
so
Justin.
wonderful to
Hello.
be here with you once again, and here with you, the fans, at the
It's
OneRing.net.
very, very, very good to be here, as Ian McKellen said, at the world premiere of The Return of the King in New Zealand on that bright sunny morning when they had rolled out a red carpet that went all the way across the central business district of Wellington. Miles and miles and miles of red carpet from the Parliament all the way down to the Embassy Theatre. What did Ian McKellen say? To the immense applause, to an ovation, Gandalf said, "Aren't we lucky to be here?"
And aren't we lucky
Aren't
that we're
we?
joined today by our friend Josh.
I wouldn't call it luck.
There. Yes, this is great luck.
Josh used to host Torn Book Club.
Oh, yeah.
What is your community name?
I don't really have a community anymore, but it used to be the Torn Book Club.
Yeah, but what was your like message board name? Like he goes by Quickbeam.
Oh, I'm Saruman.
Saruman with two N's.
With two N's, yes.
With two N's. Saruman. I always felt a little weird. Here's the thing. I've always felt a little weird because I never had a
never had a
Tolkien
handle.
name. I was just
You
Justin. Justin at the is my email.
That's fine.
and
Never had a separate
I never
nickname.
had a separate nickname, and I personally felt like a lesser class citizen.
the original-
But you,
The-
but
no.
the amazing thing is, in my
This
mind,
guy.
I thought I'm not one of
This
you
guy.
because I don't have a good nickname. But that has never come into conversation, and it has never affected
No,
anything.
no, it never would.
Any event, any email, any
It
conversation.
doesn't matter.
chat
No,
room.
I-
We'll
Like-
still call you a fool of a took. Affectionately, brother. We'll still tell you to throw yourself in next time.
I can't think
We'll
of
do it.
anybody at any event going, ugh, Justin. That doesn't
I'm
happen.
sure that happens, but
No.
Guys,
I
listen
was
to
never
this.
ostracized because of my lack of effort choosing a fake name.
Well, why
You're so
ostracize
funny.
when you
This guy's
can,
hilarious.
like, just very playfully jibe all the time?
Well, it's just it's every single person at the OneRing.net that has volunteered their time, has edited posts, written articles, patrolled the message boards, ran the chat rooms, has a name. In fact, today we just posted.
That was a 90s thing to make a nickname
It's not
for
a
yourself.
90s
It was,
thing.
With
yeah.
an avatar, usually on your message boards, it would be your login handle,
Oh.
your nickname, and your avatar.
Oh, my
or
name
a
goes
picture
all the way
sometimes.
back to America Online.
Yes,
Really?
Yeah,
Yes,
the-
8
that's
characters.
Yeah, it was.
That's right.
UMAN.
It was
It
my.
was eight characters.
It was
the
it was
limit.
8 characters. It was my very first online handle was America Online back in God 93
Ancient times.
We don't
something
wanna
like that.
date
in-
ourselves. No,
And,
back
and
when
like I
they were-
wanted a Tolkien name and I wanted it to be Gandalf, but Gandalf was taken. And so I was like, well, I don't want Gandalf with like a bunch of numbers behind it. So I'm like, okay, how's Saruman looking? That was taken, but I was like, okay, what about Saruman with 2 N's? That wasn't taken.
I'm sure you're a legend in some AOL chat rooms.
Oh,
If
God,
you guys
no.
Ever
Oh,
ran
God,
across
no.
Saruman in the
So
AOL
funny.
chat. He is right here in front of us. No,
so
the
funny.
reason
The only thing I remember
These
was
guys.
like we were talking about like somebody asked me like what my handle meant because this was the 90s before Lord of the Rings became the pop culture sensation it was. And somebody asked me what my name meant. I was like, well, it's Saruman the White from Lord of the Rings. And they immediately called me a racist.
of course, Saruman the White. Hey, actually, Erovandi reminds me that when we met the Happy Hobbits, before they were the Happy Hobbits,
Yep.
they were just fans in the chat room. They weren't even on the message board. They were in the chat room.
was
And they
Kelly
came to
and
LA.
Alex. Yes.
The Hobbit was
Yes.
just about to come out.
Right.
Yeah.
Their names were Kelly and Alex, the sisters.
was Kelly and Alex,
in my
that's right.
simpleton mind, Kelly and Keeley were spelled very similarly. So,
I know you
so
planted the seed
so
of this.
I called them Keeley and Feely because Kelly and Keeley, so the other one must be Feely.
Mm-hmm.
And so in return, they called me Bofer. And so that is the closest to any name I've ever had in the community.
Hey, it totally works.
Is the Happy Hobbits calling me Bofer.
To be honest, you have neglected your Bofer hat for a
Yeah,
few months.
you had the
Man,
Bofer
you need your
hat for a
Bofer
while.
Well, and people, you guys
Got mine.
watching the show
Got my
sent
hat
me
on.
all these hats. Cliff, you remember?
Of course they did.
Like,
Yes,
like
famous hats.
You guys sent me the hats, and it was amazing. One of the reasons this is top of mind, all these nicknames, is because last Friday, two of our editors, John Tedeschi and Ashley Rose, got an opportunity to hang with Dome Korakowski, the director of the Tolkien
Yes,
movie.
indeed they
Right,
did. Because
yeah.
they're over there at that big exhibit that
Yeah.
They
they
went to the Morgan Library exhibit.
I'm so jealous.
That's right.
So jealous
In
to
New
walk
York.
around with the film's director.
How
and
cool.
they sat down with him. And
checking out all these artifacts, these beautiful things and interesting pieces of artwork from Professor Tolkien's life.
and how the director connected a lot of Tolkien's artwork to the movie.
Yeah.
And so they posted their article and their interview on the OneRing.net today, which you guys should read. It's amazing. It's some great
It's
photos.
a really
yeah.
good
But
article.
it was
good stuff.
posted by Imladis Rose, and I'm like, wait, who's Imladis Rose? I don't remember. And
It's
then John,
it's Ashley, isn't it?
yeah, Ashley. And I don't ever remember her
Imladris?
on
Imladris Rose?
Imladris
Yeah.
Rose.
which is Imladris is Rivendell.
And John's nickname was Thorongil.
Yeah, he's
Uh-huh.
Thorongil. He's been
Thorongil,
Thorongil
yeah.
forever.
So
Yep.
who is
He's always
Thorongil?
had that
What's the
nickname.
reference to Thorongil? I know who Saruman is.
You know who Quickbeam is.
It's a tree.
He's one of the
He's
young
an Ent.
He's
Yeah.
a young Ent. So
Yes.
who is
He's
Thorongil?
one of the other few Ents in Fangorn Forest with actually a given name.
Yes.
Yes.
But
Thorongil, I don't want to I feel like it's one of the other names for Aragorn.
That's one of the
Okay.
aliases that Aragorn used when he was
When he
running
was
around
young?
Middle Earth. Yeah,
which,
Thorongil.
which might be the name used in the new Amazon TV series. We don't know.
I believe it was the
Yeah.
name. Was it not the name that he used when he was interacting with the Kingdom of Rohan with the Rohirrim? Did they not call him Thorongil?
I don't think so.
Or did they
I
call him
could be wrong.
Telkontar?
You guys in the chat room, we're watching you.
jeez.
If you guys remember where
I feel bad
Everybody.
because I'm the book club guy and I'm like I don't know.
Okay, all right.
okay, I
So
can look
answer
it up
this:
on my phone.
Imladris Rose. Where does Imladris come from?
Well, Imladris is the name for Rivendell.
Wait, what?
Yes,
Yeah.
Rivendell is Imladris.
Imladris is
Yes.
the elven name for Rivendell.
Whose name? The Elvish name?
Yeah, the elvish name.
Then why don't they ever call it that? Why doesn't Elrond or Arwen?
Elrond calls it that in the movie.
Does he?
Yes. In the extended edition, when Gandalf starts reciting the Ring poem in the Dark Tongue,
Yeah.
and everything gets like all dark and spooky, and then Elrond says, "Never before has that language been uttered in Imladris."
That's what he says?
Yeah,
Oh, wow. You know, people in the chat room
we're
are
just
saying
educating people
my
here tonight.
pen name is basically my real name in Sindarin, and Undomiel from Arwen's name, Arowana.
Oh,
Arowana is
I can't really see
her
the
real
chat from
name
here, but
in
okay.
Sindarian. Is it Sindarian?
No, it's Sindarin.
Sindarin.
Okay.
Sindarin, thank you. And yes, Eravandi has said that for a second you were thinking that Thorongil was the eagle, but the eagle's character's name
Is
is
Thorondor.
Thorondor.
Yep.
But actually Thorongil means eagle of the star.
Yeah.
So-
It is Sindarin for
Yeah.
eagle of the
I
star.
feel like
And
Thorongil was the name that he used when he was ranging in the north.
Thorongil was an alias
Yeah.
used by Aragorn when he was in his youth. Back to that conversation about young Aragorn.
Yeah.
When he was one of his aliases, that's when he was in the company of Rohan, he used the name of Thorongil.
Okay. Okay.
Ellen says,
And
well
to many
done,
others
Josh.
as well. Yes.
Okay. Well, well done, Josh. What?
Well, this is a great start to the show because this just shows how deep our fandom goes.
Oh, God, yeah.
On
Oh, no,
multiple
it's funny.
layers.
Funny,
multiple
funny.
layers. Movie, book, real life. And we've been doing Torn
And-
Tuesday. We're here every Tuesday.
and this Friday, biopic.
And this Friday, Biopic. And today I wanted to talk about the movie that was just released in the UK that they've been doing preview screenings all over the world.
Yes.
Many people. In fact, a lot of our regular viewers, we hope you're going to see it tonight at the Fathom event.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Stephen
Right.
Colbert.
Fathom Events is hosting this big thing, which is happening live from the Montclair Film Festival in New York, where he himself, Mr. Colbert, is not only just going to be Mr. Funny guy with the host and the jokes and the most, but since he's the hardcore Ringer fan of all hardcore Ringer fans, and of course he's welcome here to sit down and, bust open a bottle of ale and talk about Silmarillion stuff all day, all night long.
I would
Please
I would
come
kill
join us.
for that.
Come join us for that.
Stephen Colbert, if you're watching, and I
Stephen
know you
Colbert,
are,
join us.
please come
As
and join
he's,
us. I just want to talk
fact,
Tolkien with
Doing
you
this,
for like 5 hours.
Yes, indeed. Join us. The simulcast will happen immediately after the audiences around
So
the
stay
nation
in your seats.
watch the movie. You get to stay quite still, enjoy the credits, and the beautiful score by Thomas Newman, which is
beautiful
really
score.
lovely.
We need to have
Beautiful
a whole
score.
conversation on Thomas
And then,
Newman.
and
by
then
Oh,
the
God, yeah.
stars, we will. And the stars of the film, and Domaid Korokowski, the Finnish director, who's actually done his very first English language movie here in
This
the
is
States.
it.
With,
Oh,
and he's
I didn't
gonna
know
be,
that, yeah.
grilled in the hot seat by Mr. Stephen Colbert, and they're
Oh,
going to have
boy.
a great time with that.
Oh, yeah.
That is actually happening tonight
Tonight.
at theaters nationwide.
And guess what? If
Nationwide.
you are in LA area, Southern California, it is 5 o'clock now. It's 5:12. At 7:30, we're all going to walk down the street from the cantina
to
the Cinerama Dome.
world famous Cinerama Dome.
The ArcLight Cinerama Dome. It seats 1,500.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
Where I used
you know
to
what?
host
As a viewer,
myself.
we thank you for watching the show. So if you're in LA, you have 2 hours to get here. I'll get you in for free.
Yep.
Cliff,
Oh, hey,
You've got
check
2
that
hours
out.
to get here. We'll get you in for free. Come
yeah,
and join us.
You'll walk in. We're bringing the owner of Scum and Villainy with us because he's
Yes.
such a gracious host. The least we could do is host him.
Absolutely.
At a
Yeah.
screening of Tolkien. You'll be there.
Coming
We'll see.
Cliff will be there.
Coming full circle because I
Yes.
used to work there at the Cinerama Dome.
That's true.
One of
yeah.
my most famous stunts that almost got me fired was introducing Peter Jackson's King
King
Kong
Kong.
on Christmas morning.
Oh,
And I
God.
came out leading the audience in like the first 8 bars of Sleigh Ride. We were singing our hearts out on Christmas morning, which was verboten. It was like Red Skull. It was,
Yeah.
oh, Liebchen, if it was only that easy. Okay, it was like verboten for me to come out and sing Christmas music, and I did, in great defiance to my authoritarian rulers there at the Cinerama Dome, and I did. We sang Christmas music before King Kong, and now we're coming back not for a Peter Jackson film, but we are coming back for a Tolkien film
Yeah.
created by a very, very different filmmaker with a beautiful lyrical sensibility. My review
Yeah.
has been published online since we last spoke, ladies and gentlemen, since we were last all together on this live show.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Our review on
Yeah.
theonering.net has been published worldwide and
It's a beautiful review.
thank you kindly for that.
So before we talk about the movie,
Well,
a couple
yeah.
key
Thank
dates you
you.
should know about. Tonight is the Fathom event, which is an early showing across the country, many theaters in all different
it's a very
towns.
special opportunity tonight.
Tomorrow, Cliff, we have something exciting.
Well,
I haven't announced this yet.
That's going to be the
You guys are the first to hear it.
the West Coast premiere.
Uh-oh.
The first, not only is tomorrow the West Coast premiere with the cast and crew, theonering.net will be hosting the live streaming Q&A with George R.R. Martin, the cast and crew, live from LA. We're going to be streaming that to you guys on our
Whoa.
Facebook page. Thank you for watching this show. Tune in tomorrow because we're going to do it with George R.R. Martin.
Why are you even here right now? George R.R.
true.
Martin tomorrow?
But it
Wait.
gets even better.
He's going to be
Cliff, you have some amazing news.
in a beautiful town called Santa Fe, New Mexico, in a lovely, lovely little theater, a restored theater called the Cocteau Cinema, operated with great enthusiasm by Mr. George R.R. Martin himself. There, the Cocteau Cinema is hosting a special screening on, it would be this Thursday? Isn't that right? Thursday?
Thursday? Yeah, okay.
At the Cocteau Cinema in Santa Fe, Mr. George Martin himself will be moderated by me, by yours truly.
In conversation.
In conversation, talking about specifically Tolkien's far-reaching influence on him as a creator and as a writer, and on all types of literature and fandom. We're going to talk about Tolkien with the broader strokes and with the granular minutia. We're going to bring it to you I will be there live in person with the creator of A Song of Ice and Fire, talking about other songs.
That's
Game
awesome.
of Thrones is like the moment of zeitgeist right now.
We're not even
Yeah.
going to talk
Like-
about that, though. We're going to talk about the music of Arda, the music of the Ainur.
Yes.
That's what we're going to be talking
Yeah.
about.
Really?
Yes.
I mean,
the music that created
Game of Thrones
the
is great and
mythology.
everything, and I can talk for hours about that, but I'm here to talk about Tolkien.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but that's going
I
to be the
can't
very first
believe-
question that I will ask him. Is there a direct Tolkien influence on your positioning of the title, A Song? Because it is a song about...
No, there's no connection whatsoever.
No connection whatsoever. We'll find
Also,
out.
also
Hey, how you doing, Harley?
allegedly,
It's Harley Quinn. Everybody here at Scum and Villainy Cantina.
allegedly, when the producers of the TV show, which is ahead of the books now, said
Way ahead.
what should the final season be like, George supposedly gave the producers just the overall plot points that this character needs to be here, this character needs to be here, this thing does that. Mm-hmm. He didn't go any further.
Okay.
So I got so many feelings of Helm's Deep from that White Walker battle.
Oh, yeah.
That I wonder, in conversation, you can ask him if there are direct influences of what we are seeing now to what we've seen and heard and read from Tolkien. The Battle of Helm's Deep that leads into the Battle for Middle-earth. You know, the Battle of... what's
Indeed.
the line in the movie? The Battle for Helm's Deep is over. The Battle for
Middle-earth
the-
has just begun.
I mean, that's where we're at in the TV show. So I can't believe that you're gonna hang
Thank you.
with
In
George
the
Martin.
TV show, we've got one battle left,
Well,
and then it's all over.
The idea is to not really talk about Game of Thrones. In fact,
Yeah.
I mean, we really don't want. We'll leave
No,
all that suspense to hang in the air
Well,
and appreciate that
yeah.
moment for what it is. But laying the groundwork to have gotten where we are was Professor Tolkien.
Oh, yeah.
Those other writers who were the frontiersmen, the early frontiersmen in fantasy fiction, before it became the beast that it is in
Yeah.
the publishing world
Yeah.
today. Before J.K. Rowling, before Golden Compass,
Yeah.
before his Dark Materials, before
Mortal Engines
before the
and
wild
Mortal Instruments
before
and-
the wild comedy blending of Xanth novels by Mr. Floridian Piers Anthony himself.
Before
all
Dungeons and Dragons.
Before Gary Gygax and his friends
Yeah.
at college sitting down and creating this cultural phenomenon. Who was there at the beginning laying the groundwork? It's the subject of
Yeah.
our documentary, Ringers, Lord of the Fans. We've been talking about it here for 20 years here on thewondering.net. But indeed, I want to talk to Mr. Martin about Tolkien and
Yeah.
the power of that storytelling. Why does it have longevity? What's one of the first things I want to ask him? Why is it Tolkien has such staying power over all these generations? People are still coming back to him. I want to see what George Martin has to say about that.
I would be
This is gonna
curious
be
to hear what he has to
fascinating
say about that,
conversation.
because like I've talked with lots of different fans over many years about like what drew them to Tolkien and what keeps them coming back to Tolkien.
Yeah.
And I've gotten so many different answers over the years from so many different people. There's like such a wide-ranging number of reasons why Tolkien speaks to somebody and why you keep coming back to him. And there are some people who just couldn't get into the books but love the movies, and I'm like, hey, whatever gets you there.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
this is all in.
There's a space for that conversation about filmmaking
Right,
being
yeah.
a surrogate storyteller
Right.
for those people who don't have the patience or the time or just don't even have the discipline or whatever you want to call it to crack open the book and read.
Yeah.
Perhaps this is where we function now in talking about this new, exciting new biography for a lot of casual ringers who may not be familiar with Professor Tolkien's life.
Yeah.
Their eyes are going to be opened wide by this film's craft of weaving together
yeah.
all these memories and all these things from the first half of Professor Tolkien's
Well,
life.
I also think that it's like an interesting window into a time period and a lifestyle that most people might not be familiar with. Like, because Tolkien's upbringing was, I won't say like unique to him, but certainly like unique to the time. And it's not something that we see very much today. Like,
Not at all.
living in a foster home and his guardian is a priest.
The church, helping with that
Yeah.
role.
And
The interesting thing, I mean, but we got to set the stage and set the context for this film.
Yeah.
Because first off, Tolkien has never been put to film.
No.
Ever.
No.
His
The
life
man-
never.
No.
No.
The man has never been on film. There's never been a
Aside-
biography.
Aside from the BBC doing an early, there's a couple of pieces. The later one
A
with
documentary.
Judi Dench doing a wonderful bit narrating. The earlier one was in 1967, 69.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a hardcore look at college kids having visceral and political reactions
Yeah.
in London to
Yeah.
Tolkien's work. And there was this, I'll never forget it, this long, long aerial shot of leaving Professor Tolkien standing on the wall on one of those famous Oxford walks, lighting his pipe, looking at the trees as the camera just gets further and further back as the helicopter gets further away. It's like this
Oh,
pullback.
nice.
But just aside from those small documentary television pieces that the BBC has done, no, we've never seen the film of
No.
his life, like Shadowlands was done about C.S. Lewis.
Right.
And,
know.
and in Shadowlands, which was Anthony Hopkins, directed by Attenborough.
Right.
And a wonderful film, but the
Capote was done about Truman Capote.
and the antagonist in that film is a composite of Tolkien.
Right.
But the family refused. The Tolkien family refused to allow Tolkien's name be in a movie about his best friend C.S. Lewis.
Well, I mean, given the way they depicted him, I can't see why.
Well, he had a reputation as a
Yeah.
little bit of a curmudgeon.
Well, yeah.
So
Like,
Talking about the Sir Anthony Hopkins film,
Yes.
Yeah.
Shadowlands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I mean-
so the family has always been against portraying J.R.R. Tolkien. But on the flip side of that token, we've read interviews with the managers of the Tolkien estate saying, "I wish that people would take the focus off of Lord of the Rings and focus more on the man himself." There are interviews with the estate saying, "We wish people would celebrate the man as much as the
or
fiction."
Not just the man, but like the wider fictional world he created, not just hyper focused on Lord of the Rings.
His scholarship.
And his scholarship.
actual scholarship into Beowulf, into
Yeah.
the oldest existing
So celebrated.
story in our English language, just like the tale of the bamboo cutter is the earliest language in Japanese language,
Yeah.
the earliest historical narrative, and a powerful, strange one.
Yeah.
We have no better remembrance of who we are as human beings than our verbal storytelling. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For some people, it's the establishment of an entire world faith. For other people, it's the establishment of all missing history and culture. And to Professor Tolkien, that was important.
Yeah.
It was very important for him. And of course, the estate is right and proper for them to say, we're authentically really interested in all of his scholarship and promoting his other works and his art, his watercolors, his
That's why we're
his
getting the Morgan
languages.
exhibit, the
Yeah.
Oxford
Yes,
exhibit.
yes,
Like
that's what
I'm
it's all
hoping
about.
to God that exhibit comes out to LA because like
I hope so too.
Otherwise, we're
I
gonna
mean
be
I'm gonna
taking
have
a-
to brave a trip over to
So-
New York.
So
Taking a long flight
on
over
one
there.
side, the Tolkien estate is like, let's focus on the man. You know, the Lord of the Rings is its own beast, right?
Yeah.
You know, we wish people would focus on the man. Here's a film focusing on the man,
Right.
and doing a very, very respectful effort.
Yeah.
And a very nuanced portrayal, and it's so respectful. So, but legally, just by law, you know, the Tolkien estate had to put out a little thing that says, "Hey, we're not involved in this."
Right.
But that was just to make sure there was no confusion.
Right.
It wasn't as it was.
As it was
doesn't mean-
portrayed
doesn't
by the
mean
Guardian.
As it was portrayed by a lot of other news outlets, led by The Guardian and Yahoo News,
Yeah.
it was not an attack or a
No.
broadside.
In fact,
Yeah.
they've
Attack
wanted
against-
this movie.
They made it
Yeah.
sound like bloody pirate ships
They've,
fighting
the
each
Tolkien
other.
family has
was not
wanted
like
this
that.
movie, and they've wanted
Well,
to
the
celebrate
way they
the author.
portrayed it was like
Like
they
I
made it
said.
sound like the Tolkien estate saw the movie and said, "No, forget this."
Hey,
which
we've
is
got a
so
call
not
on
the
the
case.
hotline.
Oh.
Let's see who's calling. Hi, who's this?
Hi, it's Pippin.
Hey, Pippin, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very well. What brings you to the show today?
Hey, welcome back.
Hi. I'm actually going to argue a little bit for it possibly as to why the family may have put something out, even though legally they have to put something out.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I think I can't remember what you just said, but it was like putting out a movie about the man. I've read it. I just read a review from a priest on the Catholic Herald over in the UK. He said it's a handsome, earnest, yet overstuffed and poorly paced film deviates frequently from the historical record. Most usually, it ignores Tolkien's devout faith. There's no indication that he served Mass daily as a boy or even entered a Catholic church. So what I would argue is it's possible that they aren't happy because his faith is completely glossed over.
The interesting thing about that comment, I couldn't
quite make all of that
basically said that a Catholic bishop or someone in the Catholic Church, took issue with the movie not showing how devout his Catholicism was. They don't show him in a church.
Well, I don't think that was really the point of the movie.
Well, here's the thing. The movie does show his relationship with the church in 3 critical scenes.
Oh, yeah.
And the director actually shot young Tolkien taking communion and being an altar boy. There are scenes shot that will make it on the DVD bonus features of Tolkien as a young Catholic boy. But when you make a movie, first and foremost, the movie has to be good.
Yeah.
And it has to further the story. So they filmed everything that you just pointed out is that.
But does his faith show in what he does? So how he acts, how his interactions with everyone happens, does that show through that? Because your faith does not just stay in a church, and it doesn't stay with your friends who are religious.
Okay, well, I would say
interact.
Yeah. No, I totally see what you're saying. I would say they do have a lot of scenes where he's with his friends from college, and they want to party, they want to drink, they want to meet girls, and he's the one who kind of lags behind with all of that. And I mean, more because they depict it as he's hyper focused on his studies, because if he gets dropped out of college, he's got nothing left, while all of his friends are rich kids who will go on with their lives. So there is a work ethic, but I also felt like there was part of that religious upbringing that was sort of underpinning all of that. So it's there, but in more subtle ways than having entire scenes of him being in a church.
Yeah, this movie is not about Tolkien's relationship with the church, nor should it be, because no one wants that.
No, and that's,
well, I would disagree that no
relationship
one
with the
wants
church
that,
has nothing
but
to do with it. It's his faith.
Yeah, his faith plays a strong role in the film. Like I said, there's 3 critical scenes in the movie as released, and they shot even more around churches that have direct relation to the story. But you have to make a movie that's under 2 hours and everything like that, and you have to make a good movie that is interesting to everybody.
Yeah.
So
and you want to show
not everything can be like Endgame, where it's 3 hours and 20 minutes long.
Look, we all sat through 3 hours and 30 minutes of Return of the King,
Mm-hmm.
and then we sat through 4 hours of Return of the King.
Extended edition, yeah.
As good as Tolkien, as interesting as Tolkien the man is, I don't think I could do a 4-hour movie.
No, I don't think I'd be able to either. So my question is, we know that his faith was everything to him, but would it come across to the people who don't know much about him? Would it come across to them as, this is who he was, this was everything to him, apart from writing his books and everything that his faith was him? That's
a great question.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's address that in this segment right now. I'm going to hang up so we can have a conversation, but let's talk about that right now. I appreciate you calling, Pippin.
Yeah.
Me too. It's great to have you chat with us again, Pippin. Thank you.
Great.
It's a very insightful question.
All right. So the question, for if you guys couldn't hear, is that does this movie show how important his Catholic faith is to the man? And the answer for me, I like, we'll give three opinions here. My answer is yes, it does, because at every critical point in his young life, Tolkien defers to the church. He goes for guidance. He asks, he says, kind of, what should I do? Like, someone who is fiercely independent is just going to do what they do. And that his friends do that, right?
Right.
They're partying on the bus and they're picking up chicks and everything like that. And like you said, Tolkien is kind of
he's very reticent.
He's very reticent. And then at a few critical junctures, he has conversations with Father Francis, representing the church, and part of the drama of any good movie, and it's not just a movie, it's real life. When you're young, you're growing up and you're finishing high school and you're going to college, like, you confront these issues of, like, I grew up this way, but now I am a man that can make a choice. Do I choose to go down the same path or the path that I've been on? And I think I got from the movie that he struggles with that, as everyone does, but puts his faith in a primary position on his decision making.
Indeed. Well, in this particular film, we're looking at a pastiche of his early life. And I think that perhaps the subject of faith and the way that his own faith is important to his works would have been made in a different film that was exploring his works in that way.
Yeah.
And perhaps people, and I appreciate the conversation very much, especially that the Catholic news outlet was dismayed that there aren't any scenes of him even entering a church. But there are, they just weren't in the final cut of the film.
Okay.
But
yeah, I'm going to have to
There
take
will
your
be
word on
church
that.
scenes on the DVD, but
in another appreciation, there's looking at his faith influencing his writing as much as the basic informed Catholicism that was going on all around his life. The charity and the benevolence of one person who brought his mother into the Catholic Church, this Father Francis Morgan, who became the actual guardian of the two boys who were without a family, without any living parents, without a living relative who would help. What were these struggling two boys going to do except end up, digging some coal pit somewhere in, Scotland somewhere?
Well, yeah.
But if it weren't for the basic informed Catholicism of Father Francis Morgan, and it's kind of operationally there in all the scenes when they're all there together.
Yeah.
It's kind of like there as a background, without being too specific.
I would not come
Now,
away from this movie thinking, oh, Tolkien was an atheist.
But Professor Tolkien said early in my life when I was a lad and I was really just getting into school and getting into my studies at King Edward's, he said, I admit I was something of a bad Catholic. And so maybe the director focusing
references
on
the notes from Tolkien himself.
Maybe in doing his research, Dome Korakowski is aware enough that if he wants to get into the entanglement of Tolkien and his faith being in his works, then that might be a whole other film or another conversation where they have the cooperation of the estate, maybe, where they're literally looking at his works and talking about the reality of Catholic ideology, which is way in the background of the creation of Arda and the angelic beings of the Valar. It's all very interesting in there with Iluvatar being who Iluvatar is. Professor Tolkien's idea of sub-creation as a writer, as an artist, the act of sub-creation would be the best way to honor the supreme creator himself.
Cliff, what do you mean
Interesting.
sub-creation? I've never heard that word.
Interesting.
This is a thing that Professor Tolkien talks about himself. I wouldn't say that he coined the term, but you could say that...
No, I've heard it used by other people.
Professor Tolkien is the one that people most popularly associate the use of sub-creation with John Ronald Reuel Tolkien, because he said, in my faith, my expression of how we celebrate the divine is to take a look at how the divine created us and created the world that we are. And so in my efforts to create the world of Arda and its protective angels and its powers on stage of good and evil against each other, this is my suffusion of this world with my own linguistic interests. He said, foolish though, and maybe overreaching as this grand idea might be, Professor Tolkien thought the whole thing was maybe absurd, but he thought maybe by subcreating, I can do honor, spiritual honor, to my Father, the creator of my faith, Lord God, who actually is the same Abrahamic God that everybody else is worshiping in all these other monotheisms around the world.
The interesting thing about this article that Pippin called in
But subcreation is the act of being a creator to honor the divine.
Yeah.
So this is why we have Arda. But what you're looking for in this new Tolkien biography is not that conversation.
Right.
That might be another filmmaker making another movie on that subject in a very different way.
I think it would be a
It's very
fascinating
different
movie to
subjects.
explore it with like a more laser focus. But I mean, yeah, this movie is definitely, I don't want to say broad strokes, but definitely has like a wider focus.
It does have a wider historical
When you hear that
swath.
article from a Catholic priest or bishop saying this movie, does not address, would you say that this person that wrote these words obviously didn't see the film?
No, I wouldn't say that. I would say they saw the film. It was probably like a matter of expectations, because they probably went in knowing this aspect of Tolkien's life and then being disappointed that it wasn't portrayed on screen the way they wanted to, which I totally get. Like, I mean, Tolkien lived a very long life and a lot of stuff happened, and it's very hard to distill all of that into a 2-hour movie.
But this film is very, very specific and only looking at his childhood, his orphaned childhood, the tragedies of his youth, and I mean early stage and late stage youth, all the tragedies of his young life. As
Remember,
if those tragedies informed his work as much as Catholicism informed his work. And it is a legit, it's totally an honest and very, what is it? Well-meaning. It's a very well-meaning film approaching the subject the way that it does.
Like, that would be like, I don't want to diminish like what they're saying, but I sort of feel like it would be like me getting upset that the movie didn't have an extended scene of him writing the Father Christmas letters to his children.
Right. It's like you come in once
because I love that period of his life, and I love the Father Christmas letters, and I love the relationship that whole thing imbues. But that's not really what this movie's focus is.
Hey,
that's right.
guys,
it's a different focus.
We got someone in the chat room watching from Turkey.
Oh,
it is 3:30 a.m. here in Turkey. Are you in Ankara or Istanbul? Where, or are you further east?
If it's neither of those two cities, we're just not going to know what it is.
Yeah,
that's right. We're the rude Americans who's got a third grade level geography.
Is Tolkien opening in Turkey? I actually want to know. Is Tolkien opening in Turkey?
I feel bad that I know more about the geography of Middle Earth than I know about the geography of my own planet.
Ankara.
My own planet here on where I live and breathe. This tiny little blue marble with a paper-thin atmosphere, which we're lucky to still have, hurtling through the cold emptiness of space.
So Tolkien was your history and geography teacher.
And I know more about the geography and the history and mythologies of Tolkien's Arda
I
know about Terra.
Yeah, I know about continents in Middle Earth that no longer existed when Lord of the Rings came around.
Hey, hi from Scotland, Helen.
Hello.
Hi from Scotland.
Hello, Scotland.
Hi from Scotland.
Hi from Texas.
Hey,
hello, Texas. Oh, it's our old friend Omar.
Yes,
oh,
Ankara.
Dude.
Hey,
Omar,
good to see
you've been with us for so many years.
Hey, Omar. Yeah, that's
so
our buddy
good.
Omar from Texas. Hey, mister. And wow, 3:30 in the morning in Ankara. Thank you for being up late.
Wow,
as we talk
thank
about
you.
all these interesting things. The Tolkien movie may be an easy target because everyone's looking at hypersensitive fan reactions.
Yes.
And as it stands, pretty much, our fandom, Tolkien fandom, is the one that has not been shake, rattled, and rolled by toxicity or going down that weird slippery slope that other fandoms have. So
Like,
you know
what
what was
there's
going on?
some, like I have stories, but I mean, for the most part, we're more immune to that.
That
than
news
most
story,
fandoms.
that news story, trying to stir up mud and throw mud about what the Tolkien estate was saying.
Well, yeah.
Towards this biography film.
It was trying to get a rise out of
intentional-
Tolkien fans.
That was an intentional button-pushing moment, and I think we as a fandom perhaps properly stood up to that.
Well,
this
it's
goes
like
back-
once you read past the headline of that article and you read into it, you're like, oh, the Tolkien estate is basically just giving a legal disclaimer. That's
Right,
all
that's
that
all
is.
it was. And
all it
honestly,
was.
I think they were looking forward to this because they've been asking for this movie
Hey.
for so long. Now, I just wanted. Maybe you can tell the story, but back to like not having a nickname and not.
You're not going to let this go, are you?
It was my own internal issue that I had to deal with. It was never presented to me as an issue. But Cliff, you've been having this conversation. Hello,
Look,
Chelsea.
Here's Chelsea. Chelsea.
Hey, Chelsea.
Cliff,
Chelsea Schwartz,
you've
everyone.
been helping
Yay.
the conversation online on Facebook and Twitter. Twitter is a toxic dump of opinions, and
No.
Facebook comments can get pretty vitriolic. And so, in the wake of all this negative press, we've been trying to preach the gospel of this movie because it's really good.
Yeah.
But Cliff, talk a little bit about some of the interactions you've had on Facebook and Twitter, because I've seen you personally turn the tide and change people's minds just by having a conversation about their potential issues of this movie.
I have tried to be open-handed, and sometimes I've failed, actually. I went to task on Facebook with someone recently who said, it's torn. It's thewondering.net, so it's a movie. You're going to worship that instead of worshiping the books.
Oh, jeez.
And my response to that was, excuse me?
This
what?
is something we've had to deal with for 20 years.
Have you heard Cliff talk about The Hobbit? Then no, that's not true.
That's so
Right?
not true. We have had big name scholars in the world of Tolkien academia, real academic published authors who have been part of our team of writers, volunteer again, writers and editors and people who come and we did Q&A for many years where fans had weird questions about Middle Earth and why is it Bombadil didn't turn invisible when he put the ring on? And does the Balrog really have physical wings, or were they just metaphorical wings? Or what is the meaning of this elvish word? And why is this plant, Athalas, so powerful in healing people? And what's the history of Númenórean men? And why is Aragorn 86 years old when he looks like he's 30? And we would do this, and we had actual people as scholars, as part of our team this whole time. We have never been the worship Peter Jackson committee, even though we liked his movies. We also bitched about them a lot. And when Peter did something wrong, we dragged him. Dragged him by the wig across the floor.
One of the reasons we
stuff he
could
did
do that
wrong.
is because
So-
he was one of us.
Yeah.
He literally built a hobbit hole in his backyard.
And ultimately, after paying all of our server costs, any money that we ever made was donated to the World Literacy Fund. Why? Because we care about books.
Yeah.
So in response to that young man, I actually had a lot to say, and I just repeated myself just now, but we have had some real scholarship on board for 20 years, and we wouldn't mislead you. If this current Tolkien movie was a mess, or if it was disrespectful, don't you think we'd be the ones who would tell you?
We'd tell you.
We'd be the first line of defense to tell the fans what's going on with that.
You didn't
Wouldn't
see
we?
us fawning over the
brought it up.
Tolkien episode
Isn't
of
that
Legends
true?
of
We haven't heard
Tomorrow.
from Chelsea,
Right,
please.
Chelsea?
Hi, everybody.
Hi, welcome aboard.
Hello.
No, I'm right there with you guys. Just because we are a fandom, a fan group, a fan site, does not mean that we have to love everything about the fandom.
No.
And everyone's entitled to their own opinions, and no two fans are alike.
But I would say you didn't see us writing tons of think pieces and fawning over the Tolkien episode of Legends of Tomorrow,
Oh God,
which was not a great episode.
that was fun but full of obviousness.
Well,
Now,
that's Legends of Tomorrow. They love being ridiculous.
let's compare then how the DC episode of Legends of Tomorrow was that less honoring the professor than the current biography of Dome Korakowski. Chelsea, I mean, what if fans are coming to us asking us, really, it's been 45 years since Humphrey Carpenter had his biography published. There's never been a biography film of his life in cinema like this. Is it worth fans' time?
Is Tolkien the movie worth fans' time?
You tell them. Tell the folks out there.
I absolutely think so. I will tell you, because the embargo is lifted and I'm allowed to speak my mind in my review.
That's why I'm here.
I was a little disappointed that it didn't go into greater detail in the movie, but I still think It's a great film, and it's beautifully shot, and
Yeah.
the casting, charisma, and chemistry is incredible, and I still love it. I like that it leaves us with mystique and doesn't go too much in depth about his life, that we still have some mystery surrounding this author that we love so much.
I was aching for more.
Absolutely.
And is that not the number one rule in show business?
Well, yeah.
Leave them wanting more.
Always leave them wanting more. Actually, some people
Yeah.
say the number one rule in show business is never work with kids or animals. But
Well, yeah, that's the number one rule.
that's probably the number one
But
rule.
when you work with kids, you rap faster because they can't work as many hours.
But
That's true.
Seriously, if the film is lacking, it's not disrespectful. We'll start with that. You guys go
Yeah.
to theonering.net, look on the main page. It's also, the link is republished on all of our social media. And read my
like
first
this.
review.
I come to Torn for informed, educated fanaticism.
Fanaticism. We've
Nice.
got that.
Informed, educated fanaticism.
Yes.
We should
It's
we
great.
should like make that our new banner on the website.
Yes.
Right? That's fantastic. Thank you, Sarah, for that. That's I agree.
If it were, now, people are going to complain, is there enough of his spiritualism and Catholicism portrayed? Is there enough discussion of his actual scholarship? And
Right.
his forays into Anglo-Saxon?
Everything they discuss is such a sliver of it that I don't
Yeah.
think if
'Cause,
anybody's
like,
Yep.
if you're going
Yeah.
for anything specific, you're going to be disappointed. It's literally just here's
Pastiche.
exactly
Yeah,
here's
it's-
what makes up Tolkien as a whole.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Exactly. Like
Yeah.
I mean that's
So-
what I loved about it was that like rather than like being hyper focused on like one aspect of Tolkien's life or his inspiration or his scholarship or his religion or anything like that, you kind of get like a much broader picture of who he was and what his life was and what his relationships were. Like I feel like the movie at its heart is really a movie about relationships
It's
more
really,
than anything
it's about
else.
relationships and humanity.
Yeah.
Literally, and it's beautiful. I wrote it. If you go to theonering.net and see the first thoughts that everybody had, I wrote that it's literally about how we all met and got to know each other within the fandom and
Yeah.
connected, and what we've built of our friendships and relationships because of this.
Yeah.
That's what he had that led
That's
to
right.
these stories, and it's such a full circle moment.
He's the ultra nerd. He
Yeah.
was the first ultra nerd.
Oh, he was
And
such a nerd.
In the movie, you understand why this young man is so. He's on a date with the girl of his dreams, and he's kind of really awkward about talking about this nerdy, granularly, like it's unbelievably geeked out.
Yeah.
He feels so sheepish about it.
Like he
And
doesn't
he's
want
like-
to talk about it, but then
he's like, it's really
But you see,
nonsense.
what I love is like when she finally says
And
to him,
she's-
"No, I want to hear about
she's
this."
so supportive.
And he opens
Yes.
up and tells her this beautiful story about these two trees.
Yes, she is so supportive.
Yes.
Now, listen, if you can find a story of the first hardcore nerd who got past his awkwardness with this woman and became committed to the love of his life, and he had nothing else as his family was all dead, and he and his little brother had nothing to face except the kindness of strangers to help them get through and get an education and have a chance in life. There is such a beautiful bit of storytelling all around this early part of his life. There's much to admire. I've got lots of positive things to say about it, but I will agree with you that I was left wondering, where's the other movie that talks about the trials and tribulations of getting the Silmarillion published?
Oh God,
Yeah.
Getting
yeah.
the Lord of the Rings published.
Or even just a movie that's literally about him writing these books. Like,
Yeah.
you barely even see that. It starts to touch on it, and then it's like credits.
Well,
Hope
yeah,
you
it's like
enjoyed.
it gets to a certain point. And I won't say what because spoilers, but it's kind of like, oh, you're just getting to the really good stuff.
Exactly. It literally, you
Yeah.
just start to get there, and then it's, oh, okay. It really is just a biopic.
But you see, this is another thing that I really liked about this movie was like you see like the roots of his inspiration throughout the whole thing, and what I like is that it's like you almost see like proto versions of like the trees of Valinor or proto versions of like Turin
Well, you
Turambar.
see the real life stuff that inspired him to write these tales, which is
And
amazing.
what I liked about it is that it was also kind of abstract and not like really on the nose. Like, oh, that's what that is.
Yeah.
Like you would see in like say Shakespeare in Love or like The Man Who Invented
Right.
Christmas, where it's like every bit of
Right.
inspiration is like 100% like right on the nose. Like,
Right.
oh, I know exactly what that is.
The other thing that was also shocking, considering that this is a biopic, is that it really just focuses on him growing up And as soon as he reaches that adult moment, like the movie's kind of like done, oh, you're becoming a writer. And we don't actually see him live his life as a writer or like any of that. We don't see his passing or any of that. And that's also fascinating to me that they chose in the biography to just focus on the early years.
Yeah, or like him seeing the Lord of the Rings being co-opted by the hippie movement.
Right.
And
that's another huge.
That's another movie.
Part. That's just a whole
okay.
different
We
movie.
got a sequel in mind, folks.
Okay,
Yeah, so we're gonna pitch Dome next week when he's on the show.
Yeah.
For the sequel. Well, I actually wrote that in my review. I said I'm asking for a sequel. I'm asking for another movie. Perhaps that is going to be able to talk
we
about
can
these
talk
things.
about that with him next week. Have you told everyone that he'll be here with us next week?
That's the big surprise. We haven't told them yet, have we?
Oh,
Hello.
whoops.
That's the big surprise. We were just talking about, the event that's happening tonight, and of course the West Coast premiere happening tomorrow.
Yes.
If any of you ringers are in Southern California, in the Los Angeles area, and you can get to the Hollywood Cinerama Dome, which is ArcLight Hollywood, near the corner of Sunset and Vine, come join us, and Justin is going to get you in to see the Tolkien film from Fox Searchlight tonight. He's going to get you that. But even better, Mo Betta. I got a Mo Better burger.
Mo Better.
There's a Mo Better burger that I'm serving up. Next Tuesday, the director, Dome Korokowski, will be sitting right here in the hot
Awesome.
seat
Oh,
right
man.
here, talking with us live as my guest, talking about the movie that you would have just seen over the weekend.
And he's
And
only
you're gonna
gonna
go
be
see
here
it, right?
for the first
Like-
half of the show, so make sure you tune in early.
Yeah.
Yes, it's going to be only the first half of the show.
Yeah.
How about that? Okay, is there not a second Tolkien movie in the pipeline as well? No, Helen, there is not.
There's
There's
not.
not. However,
not
at-
currently.
I know like at some point there were talks about 2 Tolkien biopics, and one of them got shelved, and then this one they pressed forward.
but it was
with.
Truman Capote who had the double biography film that year.
Oh yeah.
That was the year of the author.
okay.
when
Because
he had-
Capote had Capote. What was the other one?
Yeah. I think it was called.
Was there another Capote movie that year? Or no,
Like, it was like a big word. It was a big
Okay.
word, like indefatigable, or
I'm totally blanking.
yeah, something like that. I'll look it up.
I'll take your word on it.
I'll look it up.
Everybody's so excited. Brilliant. Yay. No way.
Yes. Come on, join us.
Yeah.
Look forward to seeing
Join
all of you
us.
back here again next week then. So we are in our final 5 moments of today's show, right?
Look at this. Our first special screening at Providence is happening at Showcase Cinemas, and our friend is there at the cinema working. There's lots and lots of people coming to see it. Please share this on the show if you can. There is the Tolkien movie happening right now tonight.
Oh,
And
nice.
This is going to
Happening
have
around the world.
the live simulcast of Stephen Colbert at the Montclair Film Festival with actors Nicholas Hoult and Lily Collins from the Tolkien film and director Dome Korokowski. It's going to be right there live.
Nice.
Broadcast through the pipeline into all of our national cinemas, wherever we are. In our case, it's going to be at the Cinerama Dome, right?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
So a
I just
little
love that they're showing
house
it in the
cleaning.
dome. That's so cool.
I love the Dome. The Dome is my favorite way to see a movie in the
Yeah.
city, too. If you're ever come to LA, if you're not from here, and you want to experience movies in a really cool way, you got to go to ArcLight Hollywood, the Cinerama Dome. It's
my
an
gosh.
amazing experience.
Yes.
But yeah, so with that said, if you're in LA tonight and you can get to the Cinerama Dome, join us for a special Tolkien screening with a live simulcast broadcast of Stephen Colbert doing a Q&A. Or tomorrow, the West Coast premiere at Regency Westwood. You can come and like hang out on the carpet, try to like see George R. R. Martin or maybe Nicholas Hoult walk down the red carpet. There'll be some fan areas. You can try your luck with that.
Yes, there will be a really great red carpet. We'll be getting footage. Chelsea and I, we're going to be
Yes,
there
we're going to be
getting
on the
footage
carpet.
at the premiere tomorrow. It's
We're
gonna
going to talk to George R. R. Martin tomorrow, Cliff.
Yep.
I'm beyond excited about
Yep.
this, and we're not allowed to talk about anything except Tolkien, which makes me even
Right.
more excited.
Right?
Sure, I'll just want to talk about the Valar and the Maiar and
Exactly.
I wanna-
The Maiar.
Well,
yes.
I want to talk
I feel like
about-
George R. R. Martin wants to talk about that more
Oh,
than he does Game of
he
Thrones.
Absolutely does. He
Yes,
absolutely
totally.
does.
Totally.
So that's happening tomorrow, and then next week on the show we've got Dome. But before that, this weekend, Tolkien comes out Friday, May 10th. There's meetups happening all over the country.
Yeah.
Legion M's putting together a great. If they've got a site you can put in your zip code. It'll show all the areas in your town like that are having meetups, or you can host one yourself and meet fellow ringers. If you're coming to a meetup, I want to see it. Like in the chat room, who's going to a meetup? It's gonna be fun. You should do it.
Oh, it's gonna be huge.
Just raise your hand in the chat.
It's gonna be
like do a little hand emoji.
Yeah, a little hand emoji. Just that little guy. It looks like this, something like that. Like,
Yeah. And nothing.
Well, Ellen is telling everybody about the shape of the curved screen at the Cinerama Dome.
Oh.
Because there was a process.
She's explaining why the Cinerama Dome is so awesome.
Yes, she
Excellent.
Yeah, no, it's not like an IMAX screen because
no, it's not.
In the process of Cinerama, they would shoot the film using 3 cameras
Yes.
that were running 3 spools of film pointed in different angles.
I actually have one of the movies that was specifically shot for that. Once Upon a Time in the West.
Amazing.
Wow, that is so cool. And believe it or not,
it doesn't hold up if you watch it on a small screen.
No, when you watch it on a big screen, it was before they had really advanced to 70 millimeter Technorama, that big, like wide Vista Vision stuff that we're so fond of. But interestingly enough, Cinerama uses 3 projectors that project from behind the audience from not camera A, it'd actually be projector A this way, projector B in the middle, and then projector C projecting off to the left. And because light particles don't collide with each other, you can project 3 different films over each other within the same beam of light.
That's so fun.
They do not interfere with each other, and thus Cinerama is born across all 3 patches. They form one massive image.
It really is amazing.
It's weird to think that light particles don't interfere with each other in simultaneous projection.
But it's just so
strange?
cool. Like if you go to Cinerama, seeing a movie that was made for Cinerama, it's mind blowing.
It's weird. It's so cool. It's really, really cool. But hey, Cliff, when you head up to Santa Fe for the best literary experience, grab and read a copy of Willa Cather's Death Comes for the Archbishop. Magical realism at its best. Yes, Greg Talley. Worthy companion piece to Martin and Tolkien. I've heard a lot of good things about that. Really, really good things about that.
And also for everybody in the chat that says you put in your zip and you couldn't find a meetup or that you think you live too far for a meetup to happen, you can host your own meetup and meet other ringers. And I strongly encourage you to do that. I know a lot of us are antisocial nerds that are scared of like connecting with people. I have a social anxiety. I can relate. I was like, but try it. You might meet a new best friend. You never know.
This is how I actually got involved with the One Ring, was putting together an event for some fans that blew up into something spectacular.
Yeah, exactly.
The Bowl Moot way back in the day.
Indeed. You know how we all have similar roots.
Yeah.
Now, the fandom has come together with the One Ring for 20 years now. And I mean, that still makes my brain go, what, really?
I know.
10...
You're not a day over 18, Cliff.
10 years is one thing for a website to survive.
20?
For a fan web portal to stay with
an active message board in this day and age.
Active message boards, active fans, a big community across all these platforms. And to have had the goodwill of all the fans that we've earned over 20 years, you know, pursuing our own type of armchair scholarship of Tolkien and appreciating his works in our own, celebrating his works in our own way.
Yeah.
Right? In our own way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's so intriguing that we have had this little found family to come together. And in Tolkien's young life, when he was just an orphan in school and he didn't even know how to fit in, these other kids like made friends with him, and he had a found family there at King Edward's when, you know, he had nothing else. And these boys were like, wow, you're deep into linguistics? Crank that stuff, Tollers. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And they gave him a funny nickname, and they called him Tollers, and they supported his vision.
That's what I liked about this group. Like, even though like it started out because like he got into a fight with one of them, or one of them was like bullying him or something like that.
Yeah, but it's just so much the energy of youth that transforms who we are, and I find it very interesting the way that Mr. Karakowski explores that in the film.
Like it's
in with the TCBS.
Like I would kind of liken it to like a Dead Poets Society a little bit, where like they're scholars, they're young scholars, they're really into it, and like above all else, they love supporting each other and encouraging each other to follow whatever passion they have.
Yes.
and yeah, it's just so beautiful.
Yes, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Super good stuff.
And I also just need to talk about Derek Jacobi and his speech, which is so freaking amazing.
Yes. Wait, every scene with Sir Derek Jacobi is the best.
Yeah,
Like,
but
he
like
steals the scene.
he really does. But like the scene that I'm talking about is when he does like this. He gives him this speech about like all the history that goes into just like the word tree. Oak, yeah. Oak, yes. And it's like,
But see,
like-
that's a true linguistics nerd right there.
it really is. But like at the same time, I'm like, you sort of think of like linguistics or philology as like just this super nerdy thing. And then you hear that speech and you're like, oh, I get it now. This is fascinating.
It's just fascinating. It really is fascinating, and it's really well done. And I have to say, this is a great experience right now to be a Tolkien fan, because for all of these years, so many generations of us have yet to see a cinematic portrayal of his life.
Yeah.
And, you know, like I said in my review, there's much to admire. There is linguistic play. There is intelligence at play behind these actors' eyes. In
Yeah.
fact, there's the use of Wagner in a romantic, winsome way,
Oh, yeah.
as if there could ever possibly be a winsome use of freaking Wagner. This
Yeah.
film actually manages to do
And that
it.
was like one of the few
Actually
moments where I
manages to
felt
do
like
it.
the inspiration bit was a little on the nose, because like they're going to the show and I think it's Edith says something like, "Can you imagine something so small having such a big impact on the world?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, there it is."
Someone makes a joke about it shouldn't bloody well take 6 hours to tell the story of a magic ring.
Or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a
It was like
crack in
it was a little like
couple
little
of
snide
little-
remark, little dig, and like
Little dig.
And-
I'm really loving this. We've got people sharing where they were 20 years ago. OneRing.net launched
wow.
20 years ago.
Oh, I
And
know exactly
we have
where I
somebody that
was.
was born the year that the OneRing.net came out that is
Wow.
a new Tolkien fan.
Wow.
And was, they said 3 years old when the Fellowship of the Ring came out, which is mind-blowing to me. And awesome, because I love that Tolkien is something that generations keep coming into. It's
Yeah.
so awesome. When OneRing.net launched, I was one of the first people I remember discovering it because I was 16 and I had just launched a website about Peregrine Took.
nice.
Yes,
Fool of a took.
Yeah.
my favorite hobbits is.
I remember where I was when I first discovered the OneRing.net, which was probably 99. Yeah.
Yes.
I was at college. I was working in IT at the medical school, and I had like my own little like office that was just me and a computer and a whole bunch of equipment. And I had an internet connection, and the first trailer for The Lord of the Rings went online, and I watched it, and I was blown away by it, and quickly discovered the OneRing.net so that I could
yes.
talk about it.
Nice.
Yes.
Because I was
yes,
like,
yes,
I
yes.
need to talk to somebody
You
about this,
must
and all of
talk
my
to
friends are
someone
at school
now.
right now.
That's amazing. What
Absolutely.
about you? How was this born? How did it connect into your life for you?
Originally, I was working for Sir Ian McKellen at a website he was running, which was supposed to be his living biography in a website form. It was called, and still is called, McKellen.com.
Oh, yeah.
And at the time, I was working for Ian at his Los Angeles office, and he was getting deeply involved in the Oscar campaign for a little film called Gods and Monsters,
Oh, yeah.
where he plays director James Whale.
And he actually won for that, didn't he?
No, he did not.
He did
He
not?
was nominated. No.
I
no.
thought-
He
oh.
lost to Jim Broadbent.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yes, he lost to
But
Jim
not for that
Broadbent.
role.
No, actually, that year, for Best Actor, I believe he lost to the Italian actor from Life is Beautiful.
What's his name?
Yep, what's his name?
Yep.
That guy, that we'll remember in a minute.
Yeah.
But then when he was up for Best Supporting Actor for Gandalf, he lost to Best Supporting Actor Jim Broadbent for Iris.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Who would be later Professor Slughorn. Yes.
Yep.
So, anyways, so Sir Ian McKellen was working on that, and then the OneRing.net put their feelers out, asking for more writers and people with a Tolkien background to come and be new staff and write and edit, some content for the website, because they wanted to have more than just spy reports. They
Yeah.
had Erica and people down in New Zealand climbing over farm fences and climbing into sheep farms, trying to get behind-the-scenes
Amazing.
pictures of the North Island of New
Please
Zealand.
tell
And
me somebody cosplayed as a sheep.
there was a whole bunch of that mischief
Yeah.
going on. And I said, of course, I'll take on a writing job. And in fact, I can help siphon secrets from Sir Ian McKellen, who had just about to be, not yet been, he was about to be cast as
Amazing.
Magneto and Gandalf.
Okay, yeah.
Amazing.
the
That was a
idea to
big
work for
year
the
for
One
him.
Ring-
Yeah.
It was all at the same time, and I actually went to work for the OneRing.net at the same time when Ian started working as Magneto and as Gandalf, back to back, those productions.
Can I ask you
Yes.
if you got to experience a reaction from Ian when he got cast, when he was officially like, you were going to be Gandalf and Magneto?
No.
Is he much of a nerd?
No. The idea was that it was going to be one or the other because the production schedules were too close. It was only because New Line Cinema and Bob Shea and Peter Jackson and Mark Ordesky went and rescheduled everything down in New Zealand, and they shot a ton of other stuff with the other actors so that Ian didn't have to come until months later after he'd finished filming in Vancouver for the first X-Men film.
Wow.
And then he flew from Vancouver to San Diego Comic-Con, where I had made a special arrangement with the head of the convention to have him pop in backstage as a surprise guest
Amazing.
for New Line's big premiere. And this is all the stuff I was doing in 2001, or the year 2000, for the OneRing.net.
In the
Yeah.
year 2000.
Year 2000!
This is before I even moved out to LA. My
Yeah,
God.
and this was before we
Yeah.
would know all the things that we would do as a fandom and actually do the Oscar parties and do the successful documentary Ringers Lord of the Fans and all the other stuff we would do. But
And before even this, the live
Yeah.
stream.
after Ian came
Yeah.
out and that room went into a crazy wave of applause for Magneto / Gandalf, he left. He had a sandwich with me out in the patio, and then he jumped a plane and immediately flew to New Zealand and started filming his first scenes, arriving in the Shire with those first big
That is
eyebrows, those
amazing.
crazy eyebrows that weren't quite final version of his eyebrows yet, you know?
Yep.
And that's when Frodo jumps into the cart and hugs him and says, "You're late."
A wizard
I'm
is
sorry,
never
this is my
late.
favorite story ever right now.
Yeah.
That's just awesome.
I'm sorry, I'm telling you, that is...
amazing.
It's so good. It's
That was
so
the beginning
good.
of the OneRing.net was when I was siphoning
Well,
secrets
even just
from
the
Ian
fact
McKellen.
that you arranged for Ian to be the special guest before the studios were caring about Comic-Con, like that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Actually, it was a tiny room, but it was the biggest room they had. It was room A, B, C, and D.
Oh.
300 ABC.
Oh, I
Yeah, it was
remember
room
those
300
days.
ABC. You know the ones?
Yes, I
It was
do.
the biggest one they had upstairs. There
I-
was no
yeah.
ballroom 20. That building
Or
wasn't
Hall
in
H.
existence.
Oh, I
was
remember
a
when
parking lot. It
the
was a big-
attendance was so small they couldn't afford to have those big rooms
And
yet.
this was when George actually used to still attend cons and love San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah, it was crazy pants. Oh my gosh, it was
Like,
crazy pants.
I still remember going to Comic-Con probably 2001.
Yeah.
And they had just released like the first official trailer for the Fellowship of the Ring.
That's mine.
And
Thank you.
Sorry. Yeah. So and I remember I think it was the Topps booth because they were doing the official collectible cards for Lord of the Rings. And
Yes.
so they were showing the trailer on repeat in their booth, and there was a little crowd gathered around it. And I remember going to check out that crowd and noticed out on the outskirts of the crowd watching everybody was Elijah Wood.
Oh, really? Watching to see
And
what the
nobody
crowd-
noticed him.
No, yep, that's right. I remember that weekend when the movie hadn't been released yet, and we were trying to get into an after party after Comic-Con.
Yeah.
And the people at the gallery were like, "You can't come in here. You're not guests." And somebody else on the side was like, "Don't you know that he's going to be Frodo?" And they didn't care. They didn't know who he was, and nobody
Yep.
could get in.
Yep.
I was just sidestepping all that mess. It was crazy. It was really,
Yeah.
really crazy. But anyways, in the early days, we didn't know what Mr. Zombie Meister, Peter Jackson, was going to do with our favorite Lord of the Rings stories. We had no
Yeah.
idea what it was going to be like.
Like the only movie I had seen of his before that was The Frighteners. And so I was like, wait, this guy's going to do Lord of the Rings?
All right.
But it turned out pretty good in the end.
It sure did. It sure did.
It turned out
I'm happy with
like the screenplay that they came up with was way better than the one that I had written a couple years earlier.
Now,
Yeah.
you know what? This is going to be a really fun night. Our friends are texting us. I'm seeing it on Thursday. Hugs. It's Pipsquay. Oh, can't wait.
Yay, Pipsquay.
She says, I hear you should bring tissues. Yes, Pipsquay. You should bring Kleenex to the Tolkien movie.
It's not as emotional as Endgame.
No.
But it's emotional.
I actually cried more the second time I saw Endgame.
Now, Greg also says, which is better, Lembas bread or New Mexico fry bread? You tell me. I'll take the New
Lembas.
Mexico fry bread because I'm about to go and eat some in a few days. When I'm out there doing the Q&A for George Martin after the Tolkien film, I'm going to be talking about Santa Fe fry bread. And I'm going to ask George, where am I going to get the best local fry bread? I want some.
I've never
Are you
had
going
New
to visit
Mexico fry
Meow
bread.
while you're out there as well?
Yes, I will.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
Yes, I will. You line me up with the address, I'll go.
All right, we'll
I'll be
do.
there. I'll be there.
You can get it from George, too. I'm sure he'd be glad to take you.
That would be brilliant. That would be so brilliant.
Yeah.
And, you know, I believe Nicholas Holt will be there for another special thing they're doing in Albuquerque.
Oh, cool.
We're going to be talking to George Martin, and then the next night probably doing a Q&A with Nicholas Holt, where I'm tempted to ask him all about, you know, putting silver spray paint in his mouth for Mad Max Fury Road.
Right.
But I'll stick to the Tolkien questions.
You don't want to know about Dark Phoenix?
Strictly. Nope, I don't want to ask. I don't want to spoil any of that stuff.
All right.
The negative buzz on Dark Phoenix is what it is. And I'm not even going to go walking into that conversation.
All right, I watched
I'm going
the 20
into Dark
minutes they
Phoenix
showed at
with
WonderCon, and
like,
I loved it.
just hopeful. I'm just going in like full of hope.
The 20 minutes they showed us at WonderCon, I loved.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
I want it to be good.
Troy, you're awesome. Troy says Dead Alive is my favorite non-LOTR Jackson film. Yeah.
It is a great movie.
It's
Yeah.
really great fun.
Somebody said, "What's fry bread, Precious?"
Oh, what? Oh, who wants to tell them what?
I've
bread is.
never had it. I can't contribute to this
That's all
conversation.
you.
Really? Okay. Well, it's like a fried dough, and it's just like a big thing. Fry bread is sometimes served with toppings, like, you know, people would put cheese on it sometimes, or salsa, or both. It's like a big
Why do you
fried
remind me
dough.
of Samwise right now? All the
Yeah,
ways you can cook potatoes.
Yeah, dude.
Okay, I want this now.
Dude, I'm telling you. Fry bread, F-R-Y. Boil it, mash it, stick it
in
with
a stew.
cheese. Yes. Stuff it full of cheese. Pour all kinds of junk on it.
Okay, that
So
feels like
stuffed
it's worth a
crust,
trip to
okay.
New Mexico just
Yeah,
to try
no,
this
it's just-
stuff.
it's just a fry bread, but it's really good. I think they even have a sweet version of it that's served with cinnamon sugar. But, you know, hey, when you're in the realm of crepes or pancakes or fry bread or anything like that, count me in for the carbs. Count me in.
Oh, hell yeah.
The carbs.
Have some for me.
The carbs right here. I will love them. I love them. So, anyways, the thing is that all this excitement happens with the build-up to the West Coast premiere, which is tomorrow night. Y'all come on down, as they say down south. Come to the Regency Theater in Westwood.
Yes. Do it.
Do it. Show up.
Do
And
it.
get everything autographed by Dome Korakowski, Nicholas Holt, and Phil Collins' daughter,
Lily.
Lily Collins.
Yes.
I didn't realize that she was Phil Collins' daughter.
Yeah.
You what? Yes. Yeah. Yes.
I don't automatically make an assumption when I see the same last name. So
Can
Yeah.
you feel? Oh, not Elton John.
No, that's Elton John,
oh, no,
yeah.
what's the Tarzan music? Sing
Oh,
Tarzan.
you'll be in my heart.
That's it. And you'll be in
my
my heart.
heart.
Yeah, that's Phil Collins. Yeah, well, okay. I had to give you the Disney connection. All right.
Wait, we're getting into copyright infringement territory
I don't
now.
care. My idea of Phil Collins is, of course, Genesis, going way back to the days when
Oh,
yeah, that's
Peter-
what I was thinking.
Oh, yeah.
Peter Gabriel was still in the band.
Yep,
and
yep.
Phil Collins was just the drummer, and he wasn't singing, and it was all like, I love that that early progressive rock weirdness that
Oh, yeah.
Genesis was doing, and then of course Peter Gabriel went his own way as a musician, and Phil Collins became the
Phil
front man
Collins.
for Genesis. You know,
And they were both great.
And, I can feel it
Coming in the air tonight. Hold on.
It's karaoke torn night. Karaoke night at thewondering.net, ladies and
Woo,
gentlemen.
that'd be fun. We should do that.
Yeah,
it would be
totally.
great. Yes.
And yeah, actually, I just saw Lily Collins in the Ted Bundy movie that just premiered
Okay.
on Netflix.
All right, now they want me to sing Studio.
I was just about to do Susu Studio.
Oh, whoa, whoa. How about she seems to have an invisible touch?
yeah.
She reaches in and slowly tears you apart.
I like that we're getting the choreography now as well.
You're getting the whole
it's not,
thing.
Not just song,
You go ahead
it's
and
song
dance. I'll just
dance.
sit and
Karaoke
sing.
Yeah,
Phil Collins is great. He's a great songwriter.
he
Yeah.
is.
He's a great
Oh, yeah.
I completely
songwriter.
agree with that.
And his daughter's luminous. As
Oh, yeah.
Edith Bratt.
She's
is just
great.
luminous.
The both of them together, they have such
I mean,
great chemistry in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, she also does not want to just be an orphan girl with nothing to look forward to in her life.
Right.
Both. It's interesting why these two young people who are attracted to each other
Yeah.
as orphans, who find themselves struggling in a dilemma of where will we take our life,
Yeah.
our lives in the larger view, when we have so little chance of success. It's really good stuff.
Yeah.
Really worth looking at, guys. Again,
Yeah,
I'm just bringing
definitely.
it back to the Tolkien biography film. There's no singing by Phil Collins.
There
There's
is
no
not.
singing by Lily Collins, although she has a beautiful voice.
She dances a bit.
Oh, and you know the scene where they're throwing sugar cubes at people in the upscale cafe? That's
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
Oh yeah.
It's a true story.
This is the truth. Yeah, it's true. Those things
Well,
really happened.
well, it's
those
like-
things really, really, really
Okay,
happened.
there is one
his
thing in the
life.
movie that people
Oh,
are going to
no.
look at and go, that has to be made up. Where like when Tolkien is running through no man's land trying to find his friend, and there's that one soldier who is with him the entire time, just trying to keep him.
Giant spoiler.
Yeah, like, but it's revealed that the soldier's name is Sam, and that's real.
Oh yeah.
That's for real. That really
That-
happened.
Literally watching that in the film, I got chills. Like I was like, "Ooh, okay."
And you know how a lot of critics actually lambasted him for lambasted Dome Korkowski for being too literal.
Oh yeah,
with that.
I read
But,
you
know, that's what happened.
a review
So-
on IO9 where they're like, "Ugh, the guy's name is Sam," and I'm like, "Yes, his name
you
was
can't write
Sam.
this stuff
This
when it's real."
really happened."
Listen, most
you know,
of the time
IO9
people
can
get
stuff it.
people get inspiration from real life most of the time when you're a writer. I was like, and
Yeah.
it's like when you brought up the man who invented Christmas.
Yeah.
I was like Dickens had just as much inspiration from what was around him in his own brain.
Yeah,
You know, like
I did feel like some of the stuff in The Man Who Invented Christmas was a little on the nose.
some of it's a little forced, but like it
Yeah.
all comes from somewhere. Like,
Well,
as
I-
much as thoughts appear out of thin air, most of them are related to something you've experienced or dreamed.
Well, I think like that's one of the things that makes this different from like The Man Who Invented Christmas, because that movie was all about Charles Dickens writing A Christmas Carol. That's all the movie was about.
Yep.
Tolkien,
Which I don't think that was a biopic. It was literally just
No.
about A Christmas Carol. It was a Christmas movie, is what I
yeah,
consider it.
yeah, and it's a wonderful movie. I highly recommend checking it out.
Dan
but,
Stevens is phenomenal.
And the same with Shakespeare in Love. Like it's all about him writing Romeo and Juliet. But Tolkien is more about his life than about him writing The Hobbit or The Lord of the Rings.
Like we said earlier, it's about the relationships and the humanity. We've built an audience for Torrent karaoke now. People are living for it.
Oh yeah.
You know what we should do if we get licensed? Well, you know what? If we
You
don't
knew
get
that
the
was going to
licensing,
happen. As soon as we start singing, everybody's
All
going to go
those
torn
songs?
karaoke. Make it happen.
do it. Yes,
well,
I do.
mean,
Hey, everybody,
we can
welcome.
just do all of the pub songs, you know.
Hi, everybody. Welcome
Oh,
aboard.
we could, yeah. Hello.
Now, here's the thing. If you could get a movie about C.S. Lewis's life, and that was how many years ago when Shadowlands came out? 2018? How long ago did Shadowlands come out with Sir Anthony Hopkins?
That was like in the 70s.
92?
What?
All right, now
Oh,
look at
wow.
it this way. How many years since the official J.R.R. Tolkien biography was published? And this is a remarkable year on the calendar for any fan. It was 1977.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that such a significant year?
Because I was born.
You were born.
Oh, wait, other stuff happened.
Also, Star Wars.
Star Wars came
Episode
out.
4, A New Hope, released in 1977. Also,
The Voyager probe was launched.
and the Voyager probe was launched,
Mm-hmm.
and posthumously published The Silmarillion.
Yep, yep.
Was published, and that was the one thing that broke Tolkien's heart,
Mm-hmm.
because all of his entire life, his publishers refused.
Yeah.
It would never.
And-
it was never done.
and
it was
he
never
wrote
done to
them-
his satisfaction.
He wrote them this huge letter, like
Yes.
explaining
Yes.
the significance of it and why it needed to be published, and they just wouldn't go with it.
Indeed.
They didn't want to do it.
Indeed, and even though he tried and tried until his dying day,
Mm-hmm.
he still had not prepared manuscripts to a point where he thought this was publishable, but it still was his living it was his living dream as a writer, as an academic, as a linguist, because it was all of the fabric and the background of everything in his world. Everything. And we were the beneficiaries.
Yeah.
We were the lucky fandom to be given that shot in the arm in 1977 when Star Wars began.
That's
So
40
did
years ago.
True ringer
And?
fandom.
So the
Started not with the success of The Lord of the Rings, but with the publication of the Silmarillion. Then it became a whole new game.
the
Tolkien
the
fans.
question of the night, and
Whole
we
new
gotta close out the show with the title of the show. Is this Tolkien movie that comes out this week, already in cinemas in UK, is this the biography fans have been craving?
Yes. Yeah. This is the biography that fans have been craving because you don't know what you don't know. And for 45 years, however long it's been, my math is terrible, since 1977, when the Carpenter biography has appeared, this is our first chance to actually have the paint box of cinema and all the tools of a cinematographer, a filmmaker, at the top of his game, mind you, with really talented actors, unbelievable photography and music and set design, and all these weird, fun elements come together in a way that we as a fandom have never been able to appreciate. So it's worth a look.
Chelsea,
It's so worth a
is
look.
this
It is worth
the
your time.
biography of Tolkien you've always wanted?
Nicholas Hoult
Is it the
has
one I've always
it.
wanted? Maybe not. It's still fantastic, and I also I'm always going to be excited when there's new things for us ringers to talk about and things that are going to bring new people into the fandom because this fandom is so awesome. Like I wouldn't be the nerd I am if it wasn't for The Lord of the Rings, and it's opened up so much in my life for building family and like friendships and whatnot that like I am so grateful to this fandom, and I want more people to come and experience how amazing the entire story is, like how much I escape into Middle Earth when I was like a kid and growing up. Like everybody should have that kind of like moment in their life. So I think this is a great stepping stone that people are just gonna go, oh, this guy seems pretty cool. And I'm really excited for people to see this movie because, like I said, it is a beautiful film.
But incomplete. I would also agree with you. Maybe.
Let Josh.
Yes, Josh. I'll let Josh have a closing thought, but I'm in agreement with you as
go
well.
ahead.
Maybe it's not everything that you wanted because I still feel like half the story was not yet told.
Yes.
Yeah. Like,
Is this the movie that you've been wanting?
is it the movie I've been wanting? Probably not. But it is still a wonderful movie, and it's the movie that I feel we all needed to sort of get that inside, that first step into the door of learning who Tolkien was. And I feel like when you know the man, you appreciate the world better.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes. Just by the act of paying witness.
What do you
give
think?
the mic to
What do you think,
Justin.
Justin?
Justin, is it the biopic you've always wanted?
I've never read the books, so I'm only a fan since 2001. You're still a fan. So
You're still a
like,
fan. Do you still
look,
want to
I
know
came
about
away
the
I came away from the Tolkien film with much more respect for the author. That I think fans like to put people on pedestals as genius incarnate. Like he has something we don't, and this movie shows that he had a hard life like everyone else does, and he made choices and put in the work. You know, he didn't go out drinking. He wrote poetry instead of drinking with his friends. So this movie does a good job of showing that, you know, hard work, good support, and everything. I just respect the man even more.
JC.
We do encourage drinking with your friends, though.
Here at
we
Scum and
do
Villainy?
encourage that. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
If you're a nerd and you would like to drink with your friends or make new nerd friends, please come to Scum and Villainy
So,
Cantina.
the
absolutely.
final thing is, before we wrap up, you guys have all worked in the entertainment industry.
Yes.
This is a movie. This is the
Yes.
type of movie we want more of. And if people don't go to theaters to see it, we won't get movies like this.
Very fair point.
And if people don't go see it in theaters this weekend, it will be kicked out of theaters, because why would someone keep this movie on a
It's also
screen?
got really tough competition. It's coming out at the same time that Detective Pikachu is coming out.
Pokemon and Endgame.
And Endgame is still in theaters and at the top. I just saw it today again. Like, Endgame, it has a lot of competition, and as such, due to the merger as well, it's kind of being swept under the rug a little bit in terms of marketing and publicity. So bring your friends to go see it.
This is a word of mouth. I think, Cliff, you've done a great job of word of mouth. Like, this is all of your positive vibes, all of our positive vibes are because we actually like the movie.
Yeah.
It's good.
And it's worth seeing on a big screen.
And there's a moment at the end where even my stone cold heart exploded with emotion. And I don't get that in theater. The last time I cried in the theater was The Bridges of Madison County. Like,
I'm sorry, you didn't cry at Endgame?
No, I didn't cry at Endgame.
What?
No.
What is wrong with you?
Tony Stark does not deserve the
What about Cap growing old?
Cap growing. Oh man, no. I feel like that should have been stunt casting. I wanted to see Clint Eastwood sitting on that bench, the ultimate iconic Captain America, like, or even Kirk Douglas sitting there, an old 100-year-old man.
That's
He made
silliness.
choices.
It's fine.
So I have my own. I have my own
Tolkien
issues.
Achu, I choose you.
Guys, Chris Parada has just told us that Mr. Stephen Colbert is about to start
With
the
the cast,
interview
right
with
now.
Nicholas Hoult and Lily Collins. And here's one of our chatters right here. Durin Longbeard says, "I'm sitting in the theater after the movie has just ended. All caps, wonderful. So I can't hear a word."
And we've got a few
They're
people in the
in
chat.
the end
currently
of the screening of the Tolkien movie right now, about to watch the live Q&A.
It's
And
really
that's,
good.
And that's the third person in the chat to say that, which means we've got a whole bunch of people sitting in that theater that love this fandom so much
They're
that
coming
they're
into
here on
our
our
live
stream.
show right now during the East Coast screening. How
Yeah.
cool is that?
That's amazing.
Go see this movie. You will
Guys,
enjoy it. You'll have a
agreed.
good time. We've got to walk down the street to get our
Yes.
seats for our screening. So
Hold on now. Greg Talley says, "True confession, I've never cosplayed in my life, but for Thursday night
in Santa Fe
at the Cocteau Cinema, where I will be leading the Q&A after a screening of Fox Searchlight's Tolkien with the creator of Game of Thrones himself,
Woo!
George R.R. Martin. I'm going to sit down with the man, and we're going to actually talk about all things Silmarillion and Lord of the Rings. But here, Mr. Talley says, for that Thursday night in Santa Fe, I am putting together my first ever costume for George Martin / John Ronald Tolkien. This is a once-in-a-lifetime collision of high fantasy authors, so I'd better dress the part."
absolutely.
Yes. How
That's
about that,
awesome.
Look,
buddy?
my final words.
Good
Go
on ya.
see this movie. Go see it in theaters. Go see it this weekend.
And bring your friends and family and your neighbors and your loved ones.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
dog.
Go see this movie. You will not regret it. It's a beautiful movie.
It's one of those smaller niche films
It
being
is,
made
yeah.
by a studio that is no longer going to exist the same way it was before, and they're
Yeah.
just not making
Well,
movies like
especially
this
it
like
won't
they used to.
it won't exist like it did before if people don't go out and see Tolkien.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Like the fate
Like,
of
I
this
would-
movie
I would
could
say if
actually
you are
help
a-
the future of Fox Searchlight.
If you
Not
are a
even kidding.
Tolkien fan,
Yes.
you owe it to yourself to see this
yeah,
movie.
agreed. Thank
Thank you guys so much for
Thank
watching.
you.
We really appreciate you. Follow theonering.net. Come and join us throughout this week. We're going to be doing so many great things and posting it all over the web.
And Justin promises that we'll have the live stream with George R.R. Martin tomorrow night, where they're going to be here in L.A. at the West Coast premiere of Tolkien in cinemas on May 10th, all around you, May 10th. But how about that tomorrow night? Justin's going to do a live stream of what Mr. Martin has to say at the screening tomorrow
It's
night.
going to be awesome.
So awesome.
So we're gonna say
And not to
goodnight.
mention, we're going to talk to him on the carpet, and that video will be up on the OneRing.net YouTube.
Yeah, we'll post that as well. You guys, hey, thank you again to Scum and Villainy and all the hardworking, beautiful
Yeah.
staff
Hey,
here
woo.
at Scum and Villainy. Yeah, that's right. That's time to clap. Let's hear it for the boys and girls of Scum and Villainy Cantina. You guys, this is the
I
OneRing.net.
think we're done.
You can find us on social media, the One Ring Net. I'm at QuickBeam2000 on Instagram and Twitter, and we'll find you at UncoolRockstar.
That is correct.
That's right. And Mr. Josh?
I'm at Josh Rubinstein on Twitter, RUBINSTEIN.
There you go. Awesome sauce. Good night and good luck. I should say buenas noches y buena suerte.
Bye.